It is somehow May. I don't know where April went, but I did somehow manage to read 11 books in April, so I thought I'd do a little April reading wrap up and share with you what books I read in April and what my ratings for them were. So, first off, I read Everyone's an Alien When You're an Alien Too by Jomny Sun. This one was a reread, so I already went into it knowing that it is 5 stars to me. I absolutely love this little graphic novel. It is adorable and super simple, but also has a lot of depth and meaning to it. And I feel like everyone could get something from this book. It's a super quick read, but it's very impactful, and it's one that I kind of plan on reading every single year just because of how simple yet meaningful it is. I don't know, I absolutely love it. I can't say enough good things about this graphic novel, and it's absolutely one of my favorite graphic novels ever. So highly recommend this one. Then I read a poetry collection called I Saw You as a Flower by Ellen Everett. This one I did enjoy, and I enjoyed how some of the poems related to nature because I really love nature poetry and stuff like that. But I found at my current point in life, I couldn't relate to some of the poems in this collection. Some of them were kind of about breakups and moving on from a relationship and stuff like that. And though I am very thankful that I can't personally relate to those at this moment in my life, I just feel like they weren't really geared towards me at this time. But I feel like maybe it would be geared towards someone who is going through something like that right now. But I will say I did still like it, and I ended up rating it 3 stars. It was good, it just wasn't really relatable to me, and then also wasn't anything super unique that I feel like I haven't read before poetry wise. Then I read Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating on my Kobo, and I started off kind of hesitant towards this one because the female lead, Hazel, kind of gave pick me girl vibes from the beginning, but that seemed to mellow out as the story progressed. I really loved Josh. I thought he was a really great love interest. So this one is a romance that has a dual perspective. So one chapter is narrated by Hazel, and then the next chapter is narrated by Josh, and it goes back and forth throughout the book. So that was very interesting and unique as far as romances go, or as far as romances go that I've personally read. Then I will say there is a trope in it that some people don't really like in romances. It wasn't cheating or anything like that, so don't worry about that, because then I would have hated it as well. But I know people either love this book or hate it, but I was somewhere in between. I ended up rating it 4 stars. I didn't mind the turn that it took towards the end, but for some people it was a deal breaker and it made them not enjoy the story. I don't know, I personally really liked most of it, and I think that's because I liked Josh so much, but I also really like Christina Lauren's writing. I think that they write romance really well. And then I listened to the audiobook How Y'all Doing by Leslie Jordan. I don't rate memoirs or autobiographies, but I will say this one was very short and sweet. It was very lighthearted as far as memoirs go. He more talked about some of his experiences in the acting world and American Horror Story and stuff like that. I really loved it though. If you love Leslie Jordan, then this one is perfect. It's also narrated by him, so it's really nice to hear his voice. Then next, I was still on a bit of an audiobook kick, so I listened to another one, and that was What I Know for Sure by Oprah Winfrey. This one, once again, I didn't rate because it kind of felt a bit like a memoir, kind of in the realm of self-help in a way, but I must say I loved this so much. It's basically Oprah rereading columns from her magazine, O Magazine, and the column was called What I Know for Sure, and it's her talking about things in life that she knows for sure. Some of them are a lot deeper than others. In this audiobook, she actually ended up convincing me to buy and start using a gratitude journal, which, if you don't know what a gratitude journal is, it's just simply a journal that normally has a format kind of like this, and you write 3 things or more or less that you were grateful for that happened that day. There's research behind it showing that just doing this and thinking about things that make you grateful can actually change your mindset and make you overall more grateful for little things in life. And so I've been loving doing this so far. I think I've been doing it for about 2 weeks at this point, and I can already tell that it's kind of changing my mindset a little bit because as I'm going through my day, sometimes during little moments, I think to myself, oh, I'm actually really grateful that that just happened. And maybe I can write that as one of my things that I'm grateful for in my journal today. I don't know, I'm actively thinking about being grateful about things now. So I'm definitely enjoying it. And I'm really glad that I listened to this audiobook because it convinced me to buy this. Next, I read another poetry collection, and that was Field Guide to the Haunted Forest by Jared K. Anderson. This is like a collection of poetry that gives spooky nature vibes, and I really loved it. I rated this one 5 stars. It felt to me like it was written for me as I was reading it. I absolutely loved it. It's very short. I got through it rather quickly because a lot of the poems in it are also very short, but I really loved it. If you love nature poetry and love poetry that kind of makes you think a little bit more about life and this rock that we're all living on, I highly recommend this one. And then I read this beautiful manga series. This is the Girl from the Other Side deluxe manga series. So as you can see, these books are gorgeous, and the artwork inside of them is just as gorgeous as the covers, and the story itself is beautiful as well. I rated all of these 5 stars, and it's got to be now one of my favorite mangas that I have ever read. I don't really want to say the plot of it because I feel like it's a really good one to go into not knowing what's happening and kind of just figuring it out as you go along. But basically, it's this little girl who's being taken care of by this monster slash beast, and you slowly learn why they are in this situation. That's all I'm going to say, but I really loved it. It's very like dark gothic illustrations mixed with like some cutesy humor here and there, so definitely right up my alley. And the deluxe editions are so gorgeous. I cannot say enough good things about them. They are just absolutely beautiful. I have an entire vlog dedicated to these, and I'm so glad that I did that because they deserve their own vlog. They are just so beautiful. So I definitely recommend this manga series, but then I also recommend the deluxe editions if you can get your hands on them because they just complement the story so well. And then the last book that I read in April was another memoir I listened to on my Libby app, and that is How to Forget a Daughter's Memoir by Kate Mulgrew. This one was Kate Mulgrew talking about her parents getting sick and eventually passing. It talks a lot about death and grief and what that does to families and such. She also talks about her past and her parents' past and stuff like that. It's definitely a very heavy and dark memoir, and I wouldn't recommend it for everyone. And I might also recommend checking the content warnings just because I know personally from my own experiences, if I would have tried to read this right after my mom died, I think being in a dark place at that moment in time, this would have been a really hard read. I don't know if I could have gotten through it, and if I did, I feel like it would have put me in an even worse headspace because some of the stuff she says is really hard to hear. But overall, at this moment in my life, I think she put death and grief and watching people go through that sort of rite of passage beautifully. I could definitely relate to some of her experiences in that way, so it was also nice to kind of hear someone talk about experiences that I sort of went through and hear how they felt in those situations and how they dealt with it both externally and internally. So very good memoir, very thought-provoking and beautifully written, but definitely not for everybody. But that was all of the books that I read in April. I had a really good reading month, I guess. I read a lot of really good books, and I am hoping May is going to be just as good. Let me know in the comments what you read in April, and if you had any 5-star reads as well. I'd love to get more recommendations of 5-star reads. I hope you have a great rest of your week, and happy reading.